Alright, so you just bought yourself a BMW E60 M5. You just bought yourself the car that a lot of people would love to own, but most people are too frightened to own, because apparently they're horrendously unreliable and they're going to destroy you financially. But I've got news for you. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so you've just been and bought the car, you've got the car home, you've got a receipt for the car, it's your name on the logbook, on the V5, on the title document, registration document, however you do it where you live. So you own the car, but it's not just about legally owning the car, you need to own this car. Now what do I mean by that? Now with a car like the E60 M5 with a high performance V10 engine like this comes the responsibility of looking after it properly so you don't end up with problems later on down the line. So if you look after it properly, it's going to serve you well. If you don't, it's going to end up in tears and it's going to end up costing you a lot of money. Okay, now you've just bought the car, you've just got it home. So let's take a look at a few of the basic service items that you want to look at getting done before you start diving into rod bearings and this, that and the other thing. So these are just the initial preventative maintenance items, just to give you that baseline, nice reliability before you move forward on any of the larger jobs. Okay, so first up, you're going to want to look at getting the filters changed out. So we'll start off with the air filters. There's one here and one here. Now you'll normally find that they can be quite dirty when you get them out there, and also with this engine it's not uncommon for them to have like a oil residue on the top side of them also, so it's good to get them changed out, and then the engine can breathe properly and it can meter that air correctly as it's coming into the engine. Okay, then next up we've got the cabin air filters, one under that plastic cover there and the same under that one there. Now it's worth getting them changed out because it'll allow your air conditioning system to run efficiently if it's got nice clean filters, and also you'll get that nice fresh air coming into the cabin. And then the next filter, of course, you'll want to get the oil changed out, so it'll be the oil filter which lives down here, so it's worth getting that changed out when you get your oil changed, obviously. And then the last filter you certainly want to look at getting changed out is the fuel filter. Now that sits under the rear bench seat on the left hand side of the car. Now they can become clogged and dirty over a long period of time, especially when the car's getting to this sort of age and mileage that these cars are now. And it's certainly worth getting it changed out because it can affect the performance of your engine. When it starts becoming clogged, it can affect the fuel flow. And also if any of that dirt ends up getting past the filter, it can end up in your injectors. And if they become blocked, what can happen is the injectors can start dumping fuel into the cylinders, and then you end up with a hydrolocked V10, and you don't want to go there if you can help it. So get that filter changed out, that fuel filter under the rear bench seat there. Okay, so once you've got all the filters sorted, it's best to move on to getting all the fluids changed throughout the car. So it's best off to start with the engine oil first, and then move on to the SMG gearbox, the gear oil inside the gearbox, and then moving on from there, the differential oil in the back axle. And then once they're sorted, you want to go through and get your power steering all changed out for new fluid, and then also the brake fluid as well. Get that changed out, get it flushed right the way through the ABS unit and right the way through to all four calipers, so it's all brand new fluid right the way through. So then that's all your filters and all your fluids sorted, and then there are just a couple of other little jobs that are worth looking at before you move on to any much bigger tasks. So the next job that's worth doing is changing out the PCV valves. Now they sit in the back of the valve covers, just down there, one there, and the same the other side. Now it's worth getting them changed out because they can become clogged over time and dirty with oil residue. And once they get to that stage, it can inhibit the operation of the valve. And what can happen is they can cause vacuum leaks, it can cause excessive oil consumption, and it can also cause oil residue to come up through the intake plenums and then through here, through your MAF sensors and onto your air filters. So it's worth getting them changed out. It's a cheap part to replace and it's relatively easy to get at them, so it's worth doing. And then following on from that, you'll have new PCV valves, you'll have new air filters, so it's worth whipping out the MAF sensors and just giving them some clean, giving them a spray with some MAF cleaner. And what that'll do, that'll remove any of that oil residue or muck or dirt from the sensors themselves, and that'll just ensure that all the air coming into the engine is getting metered correctly, and the computer will be happy and then the engine will be happy. Okay, and finally, it's worth making sure all 10 injectors, all your fuel injectors are in good health. So it's worth putting some fuel injection cleaner through the petrol tank, and that'll flush right the way through the system and through your injectors and make sure there's no muck or dirt in them, and it's going to ensure that they don't get stuck open. Okay, so once you've got all them little jobs sorted out, That'll just make sure that your engine and your car's in good health. It'll give you a nice baseline to work from then, and then you can move on to them bigger issues such as rod bearings, Vanos pump, or even just engine idle problems, misfires and whatnot. But it just gets all them little jobs sorted out and gives you that nice baseline to work from. Now go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel if you haven't already, because I've got DIY videos on all them items, so it's worth checking them out. Make sure you give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks for watching.